Healing from narcissistic abuse is probably the least linear thing you could ever imagine. There are so many ups and downs, so many pitfalls, so much self perpetuation of self inflicted abuse that has been afflicted upon us by another. There's so much of this cycle of toxic thoughts and intrusive ways of behaving and reacting and premature and primary ego defenses that kick in that really highlight our infantile responses to things at times. There is something deeply shattering about narcissistic abuse because it takes away any belief, any sort of understanding that you had of human nature because it shatters you. These people are not, they're not the same as you and I. They don't think the same as you and I. They don't feel the same as you and I. They don't perceive others like you and I. They don't perceive themselves like you and I. And it's in this cycle that we can see how we've become colonized, used, abused, cycled through again and again of being devalued and then love bombed again. So it's discarding and hoovering basically throughout the relationship, only to be dropped like a stone whenever it's suited. And it's this discombobulation, it's this sort of misinterpretation by us of the whole scenario, this longing, hope, want, desire for things to be resolved and for it somehow to have been real and to have meant something to both people and both parties should be grieving and taking time out, and there we are grieving, and the other person is just walking off into the distance with somebody else, and the pattern's repeating. And yet we ask ourselves the question: what did we do wrong? What did we do wrong? You see, the problem with narcissistic abuse is that pervasiveness of that voice, of those voices, of all those critical statements and tones and messages that were given to us in a repetitive pattern again and again and again to sink the brainwaves, to get us to be more reactive, to bring us down into our childhood ego, to bring us into our childhood trauma, to make us very aware of our now very unhealthy attachment style, which is becoming really, really obvious to us as we're going through the relationship because we keep defending this bad object. We keep fucking standing in awe of it, of this idealized version of both us and them, like somehow it's going to come back. You see, it's this realization that this is a delusion. Whenever you somehow think that you can bring back a relationship that is absolutely defunct, broken, and it has been since the day you met them. But for some strange reason, our psyche, our hope for these things just keeps on clinging on to us. And it's this that turns into the mental health injury post discard. You know, eventually this stage of sort of limerence that we're in, this libidinal hope for desire and connection, that keeps us stuck in this repetitive cycle of ruminating about what we could have done better or done differently or how we could have been a better partner or whatever the fuck it is that we're trying to convince ourselves of in our brain. This cycle, once you get beyond that and you now realize that all that information, all that data that you've been processing, all that ruminating thoughts, all those voices, all that programming that have been going on in the relationship is what's really starting to cause problems. It's not the person, it's the damage done. It's the psychological and emotional damage done by this really cold detachment from a very, very strange person that you now are wondering who the fuck they are and you don't know how you let them into your life. And it's this confusion and the imprinted psyche which doesn't belong to us. This lasts, you know? I wasn't able to go on to my live with Michelle and Ali and Aisha sadly on Saturday because I was extremely dysregulated because I've reoccurring nightmares, and those reoccurring nightmares are a crippling aspect of CPTSD, where I'm reliving my abuse in my dreams, like really severe abuse from childhood, stuff I don't even want to talk about, but as an adult, and it's incredibly dysregulating. And I just want to say for everybody out there who watches my content or any other narcissistic abuse recovery coach or a psychotherapist or psychodynamic therapist or psychologist who's talking about it from a personal level. They understand this dysregulation, and they also know that they can't heal you. The healing has to come from you. The healing has to come from us. The separation from the shared fantasy has to come from us. We need to do the work. You need guidance, but you need to do the work yourself to separate yourself from that. But then that's only the beginning of your healing, because that's getting the shit out of the way. That's just holding back your healing because you haven't actually started your healing. Your healing now begins in dealing with the self and your own attachment wounds and attachment style and patterns. And it's recognizing those patterns, and it's seeing them, and it's identifying them and knowing where they came from and how they got put into you. See the root cause and then go back and challenge it and talk about it to yourself. Have internal conversations to try and work it out, because the internal conversations are all the parts of you that are hurting, that you need to talk to and integrate again and love and bring in and let them know it's okay. It's okay. And that's really difficult to do. And then we have the physical central nervous system micro traumas that have been going on, and the damage that's done to the brain, which has us in this repetitive compulsion loop. It's an incredibly complex process healing from narcissistic abuse, and there is no one single way to do it. It's in stages, like anything in mental health. Incrementally, we have to work out how to get better. Incrementally, we have to work out who we are and love those broken pieces with as much love as you can give them. Like the mother you hoped you should have had would have. You've got to love it that way. And this is why mental health takes a long time. It takes a long, long time because we isolate ourselves, especially with CPTSD and severe depression, high levels of anxiety, extreme hypervigilance. The safe place is to bring yourself into a much more isolated way of living, to bring your circle down, to find the people who make you feel safe, so that whenever you have those moments of dysregulation, you've got somewhere safe to land. That's so important. I submit to my mental health. It is what it is. I started a journey in June of EMDR, eye movement desensitization reprocessing, and it's going to disrupt my life for 6 months. I know it is, because I watch things and I understand how it goes. But I'm willing to go through that to do it because I want to come back and be partaking in normal life again, going outside and enjoying the fresh air and having a yes for life. Narcissistic abuse gives you a no for life. It initiates what they call our death drive. It's devastating. It's discombobulating. It's confusing. It is the most difficult abuse to come back from, because within narcissistic abuse, there's all sorts of different types of physical and mental and emotional abuse. And it's about creating chaos in the other person so the narcissist can avoid themselves. The longer we avoid ourselves post abuse, the worse it gets for us and the longer it takes to come back. I hope that helps other people understand that as much as I myself know as much about narcissism, I think, as anybody else on this platform, and I don't say that lightly. And I really don't. I can't heal you, and I'm not healed from it. My central nervous system needs a lot of help, as does my psychology. Peace out. Loads of love.